Welcome to this week's episode. Today we are talking about the Referral Engine by John Jantsch. So I'm Paula Williams, and we'll just go around and do introductions first, and then we'll dive into the book. We help aviation companies sell more of their products and services.
And John Williams here. I do most of the back office stuff, cybersecurity, etc. for her.
And you read a lot of books.
And I read a lot of books. And have read a lot of books.
Right.
And I'm Stella. I obviously read a lot of books. Not to mention the 9,000 digital books that I currently have.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I'm not even done entering them all into that thing yet. Anyways, I am the copywriter for ABCI. So I write some great articles for our clients to put onto their website, their blogs.
Absolutely. Your Kindle must be like really, really heavy. It must weigh like 5,000 pounds.
It is so small and tiny. I can touch it. It's so heavy.
Cool. All right. Well, let's dive in with maybe first impressions about the book. And then there's a few points that I think are worth talking about. This is actually the second time we've featured the Referral Engine in our book club. The first time was back when dinosaurs roamed the earth and we weren't even doing video. This was all audio. And, we didn't have the technology that we do now. And I think this was version 1, and now they have a version 2. So it's kind of nice to do an update. Any first impressions or thoughts you wanted to share to start with?
Sure. Little levity, but also true.
Mm-hmm.
As I glanced through it and started reading it, it occurred to me, of course, now anybody listening to this has to understand that I have lived with Miss Paula for quite some time. So I thought maybe she was writing the book before and under a different pseudonym, because it's all the stuff that she espouses. And so, okay. From a certain point of view, it's nothing new to me. It's exactly what she would say and what she's done for her company.
So to kind of explain that, yeah, a million years ago, this was probably in the 90s. I signed up for a very, 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 and I was, at that time working for Wells Fargo, and I was working at building, this was just a dream, to build our own company. And I signed up for a workshop for $3,000, which was like more money than I had on my credit card at the moment. I was, anyway, it was a long story, but one of the things that was on the workshop list, and this was a Dan Kennedy marketing workshop, he had 100 books that we were supposed to read before we showed up at this workshop. If you're going to get the most out of your money, you should do this. And so I read every single one of those books. And this was one of those 100 books that kind of started off our whole philosophy and our whole business, and that our business was built around. So I'm not surprised that, you're seeing a lot of familiar things, because we took a lot of things, we stole a lot of things wholesale from the book and used them in our marketing philosophy. But Stella, how about you? Any first impressions or thoughts about?
Well, I mean, one, it was a easy to read book. So it was well written, well laid out, that, it was very easy to understand if somebody wasn't, a marketing guru or a referral guru or whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I agree with the principles in that, laying the groundwork for referrals is the best way to grow your business. Not everyone's going to give you a referral. Some people are just anti-referral, but they're worth their weight in gold. And, as you know, I write a lot of white papers and case studies, and those are based on referrals, essentially. Mm-hmm. So the more you can put those kind of things on your website or in your documents, wherever you're going to put them, they're worth their weight in gold.
They are.
Also interesting is you can temporarily become a victim of your own success. And a few days ago, one of our clients told us that, oh, I see you have more people working for you.
Mhm.
Okay, well, I'm not afraid to refer to you now because I didn't want to take away from you working on me, my stuff.
Exactly. He said that. He said, I was going to refer somebody to you and, I had been holding off because I want you to finish my project first, before I refer somebody else to you. But now I see you have more people on your team, so I feel okay about giving you a referral. So that's funny. And it's a true story. That's actually really hysterical. I'm just like, oh, that's great, but that's terrible. Um, yeah, and Stella, what you said about the white papers and case studies and things like that, I think that is, really fuel for, John Jantsch talks about the referral engine, and you need to fuel an engine to make it work. And what fuels that engine is information that they can just hand to somebody and say, this is who does my marketing or my aircraft maintenance or my whatever. Here's a case study about them if you're interested. um, you know, that's a really good way. It's, better than just giving somebody the name of somebody that might be able to help them. It gives them a lot more information and a lot better basis for referral if they have that type of information. And then people have the ability to make good decisions, because not everybody's a good referral for everybody just because they know somebody. It's also, is this a company that can do something similar to what I need done? Right.
Well, back to that whole thing of storytelling.
Yeah.
Now, if you can
Bless you.
give them something in a story format that they can relate to,
Yeah.
John's company does this and it wanted this, and we were able to accomplish this in a story that they can relate to. It's like, oh, that's exactly what I need. Yeah, I want what you did for him.
Mhm. Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And one thing I actually did yesterday, and I only did this because I was reading the book. Otherwise, I don't usually remember. But I was talking with somebody, and he is a client, he's a longtime client that we do business with. We've done business with forever, and we're always asking him questions. He's asking us questions. We're talking about business. We're talking about the market. We're talking about a lot of things. And I realized I had never asked him straight up, person to person, on the phone for a referral. And, I felt weird about doing it. So, I was trying to think, how am I going to do this? And what I did is I said, here's something that you don't know about our company. We're actually bigger than we used to be. And so we are looking for, slightly bigger clients than we have in the past. So I didn't know if you knew that, but if you happen to know anybody in that bigger category that needs some help, we'd be really happy to help them. And he thought about it for a minute, and he actually was very positive about, the way he responded. So I think people really want to help. You just need to give them a reason, and maybe give them a reason to that's different from what they've known in the past, about you. Because, if everything is staying the same, there's no reason to change anything. There's no reason to give you referrals because everything's humming along great. They think you're doing great. They're doing great. They don't realize that you're wanting to grow in a particular direction, or, looking for a particular type of client, or anything along those lines, right?
So when you end all of your email out there, so go get some more clients,
Ah,
you could put instead of putting that out there, or in addition to that,
go sell
is,
more stuff, right?
well, yeah, but
Yeah.
what I'm thinking is, who do you know that could benefit from this? Who
Ah,
can you refer to us
mm-hmm.
that fits whatever this scenario is that we just did?
Yeah.
Um, who do you know that could use this?
Yeah.
Uh,
Who else do you know that could benefit from this information? Forward it.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and it's kind of a backwards way of asking for referrals, but it's the same idea.
Hmm.
Saying, you have benefited from this, or here's some great information, we have in our company. We're growing. Who do you think could benefit from this?
Right. Exactly. So, he talks about like creating a referral culture. This is all
Mhm.
part of that. Um,
Exactly.
if you, especially in the aviation industry, we're all about networking because everybody knows everybody else. Everybody does business with everybody else. and so on. So, that's part of that culture. Forward this email, or share this post, or, who else do you know that could benefit from this little factoid or tidbit of information? And then
Right.
by
So,
sharing, right?
yeah, just add that to your emails when you send them out, along with your little, your little tagline. Go out there and get more clients.
Mm-hmm.
Add on there, hey, who do you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to do that. So, that's also his point about leveraging technology. How can you make it easier for people to share what you provide? Because, they're not going to go seek out a conversation on your behalf, but they will push a button on your behalf. So that's cool. Good idea. All right. Do. One of my, well, there's a couple of favorite examples from the book, and you guys may have favorites as well. One of the ones was the Ritz-Carlton. Um, it is a hotel chain, of course, and they have a culture where every employee is empowered to do whatever it takes to make a customer happy within reason. And they trust their people to know what within reason means, right? So, um, basically, if there is something that you can do that is going to solve a customer's problem or make their day or make their stay more special or their wedding or their whatever event better, do it. And then tell us about it later. Don't seek permission. Don't, go through bureaucracy. Don't do any of that stuff. So, that makes the Ritz-Carlton a lot different than most hotels where I have to go get this approved by my manager, or let me see if I can um, make an exception to the policy to let you stay an hour late past checkout time or whatever. Ritz-Carlton, everybody is spring loaded to yes. And at their price point, they can afford to do that. They've got the margins to cover some of the things that people might think of, that they need to do. And I'm sure they make bad decisions every once in a while, but I think they probably lose less on bad decisions than they make by having that reputation for exceptional customer service. And those great stories, as you say, great storytelling make for great referrals because, everybody wants to talk about their wedding and they can say, the Ritz-Carlton let us do this, or, found us a whatever, or saved the day by doing whatever, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay.
Okay. Well, you've had experiences in hotels, John.
Yes. I would just, Brian, I've got 3 screens here and 2 operating systems trying to keep things going.
Ah.
So, with respect to my experiences in hotels, I probably stayed in every brand around. But,
Have you ever referred a hotel for any reason?
yeah, oh, yeah. Yep.
Why?
And, specifically the River Center Marriott in San Antonio.
Because somebody did something cool for you, right? I mean, you've had actually a few cool experiences there. You stayed there.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, I've been a Marriott member since forever,
Mhm.
but I was spending weeks there and flying home on weekends, and I went back in one Monday morning and I said, "Guys, that last room I stayed in, it needed a lot of help, so don't let me in a room like that again." Okay, he said, "What's wrong with it?" And I explained it to him. He said, "Holy cow!" And he looked around and he said, "Here, try this one." I said, I think you'll be okay with it." I said, "Okay." I had, you know, just another room. And then I got the key and looked at it and said some big long numbers and crap, it's top of the hotel. So I took the elevator up. I mean, I don't like the top of the hotel because, it takes too long to get in and out. And if there were a fire, it's a problem.
You'll be running down many, many stairs. With all
Because this hotel has about 48 stories to it. And so I was on the 40, I think it's 48th floor. It's that high anyway.
Mhm.
And the elevator doors open and I don't see any room, just one long hallway. And I said, well, oh man, are we going to go through this crap again? But I said, I'll just walk down there. And I walked down there. And on the right was the room number. And underneath it was double teak wood doors. And I said, what the hell is this? Open it up. It was the whole half of the hotel on the top floor. I mean, 12-foot glass table. It had, I don't know, erotic flowers they changed daily from around the world. They had the bathroom was a double sink, double everything, solid gold with all the metal. Just it lacked nothing. 3 or 4 fireplaces for different parts of the thing.
Wow.
And I got it for the price of a 1-bedroom room.
Right? I bet you're talking about that to everybody.
Well, I mean, they can't do that to everybody. And I was far enough up the metal chain that they upgraded the room to that. And then, well, so, and it was luck would have it, this room at the time rented out for $900 a night.
Mm.
And they told me, he said, when I went back down to talk to him, I said, WTF? And he said, we typically rent it out by the hour. I looked at him. He said, no, not for that. He said, for conferences
And yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I ended up staying in that room for 6 weeks.
Wow.
They had nobody to use it.
No wonder you're so spoiled. No, that's actually a really cool thing. And I guess if they had the room available and they wanted to solve your problem and make you thrilled, and they knew that, you were in a position to have a network of people that you talk to all the time, being in business in the area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I made that trip for the better part of 5 years every week on contract.
Right.
So, yeah, they got their money's worth.
Right. So a lot of us in aviation are also in hospitality because, those two things kind of go together. Another example that I really liked was HubSpot. Now, which is not to say that I love HubSpot software because there are some things that I think could be better about it, but I do love the way they do marketing. I think they do that incredibly well. So a couple of things that HubSpot does is they are pretty much leading the pack as far as lead magnets go. I have downloaded a lot of lead magnets from HubSpot because they create high quality educational content like ebooks and webinars and other things like that that are really, really good. So, you know, whether or not you use their software, often you refer to their materials because they're well written, they're easy to understand, they do a lot of infographics and things like that. And they do what they call inbound marketing by throwing out those lead magnets that people will sign up for to download or to attend,
So there's a quote in the book I would like to have you address.
Okay.
It's on page 27.
Of the real book, the paper book, right?
Yeah, the real book, paper book.
Okay.
And it's the second paragraph. And he says, I have yet to find a business that relies heavily on referrals and low price leadership as shared strategies. Remarkable businesses generally lie on the upper end of the industry norm when it comes to pricing.
Yes.
The supplement to this habit is that widely referred businesses also invest in their people and are rarely the low wage leader in the industry.
Yeah.
So,
Total sense.
hmm
That makes total sense. People aren't going to refer somebody unless they get outstanding service and unless they get outstanding everything, from that.
Difficult to do that if you're the low price leader,
Right. If
because
you,
you don't have the revenues to be able to do that.
Mhm. Come to think of it, I don't think I have ever referred any company where my primary contact is a $15 an hour person, right? Or a minimum wage person. I wouldn't refer a McDonald's. I wouldn't refer a GoDaddy. I wouldn't refer, any of those kinds of things because those are not companies that have the margins to have really good people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know this is rough because we all have to watch our expenses and things like that, but you do have to be able to afford, you do have to have the kind of margins to afford exceptional service. So that's absolutely right. And you have to train your people. You have to invest in training. You have to do all of that. Another thing that HubSpot does is they actually have, and this is kind of unusual in the business to business industry, they have a formalized referral program so that customers get discounts or credits or things or goodies or, jelly beans for referring other people to them. And, that's kind of unheard of in the business to business industry. Some people feel like it runs into some squishy area with ethics and so forth to refer other companies in a business to business space. But I think, and we've always offered some kind of incentive, either additional office hours or a finder's fee or something like that, as long as we are transparent about it and as long as we don't violate any ethics and so on, and everybody is clear about what's happening. I don't think there's any problem with doing some kind of an incentive in just about any industry, unless it's absolutely illegal, like with I don't know, lawyers or something. I mean, there's a lot of rules about some professions where referral.
Public officials.
Yeah, there you go, public officials. Exactly. The mayor referring his brother-in-law or whatever. That's kind of hits the headlines.
And the other quote that I found, that he just lays it right out there in black and white, page 159. Membership breeds loyalty, and loyalty breeds referrals.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was a member of Marriott for, oh, heck, I think I started going there in 89. So all these years.
Yeah.
And I referred lots of people to them.
Mhm.
Some people say, well, no, I got it and you can't do it. I said, no, that's not true. Because I can tell you that as a fact, because I've been with these guys for like 15, 20 years.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. And in our industry, uh, NetJets is kind of the model referral or subscription program because people who are NetJets members get concert tickets. They get, there's a whole bunch of things that you get as a NetJets cardholder that are pretty exclusive and cool. And, people love that. Some people who don't even fly all that much will have a NetJets membership just for the prestige of it, so they could take people to concerts and, do those kinds of things and stay in the NetJets. Um, uh, what do they call those at sporting events where they have
Their
the box?
block.
Yeah, exactly. The NetJet box is the place to be, so if you can make your membership super prestigious, that's really helpful as well. And I know since we've had our membership, we've had a lot of referrals that probably Jeremy Cox was legendary for referring probably more people to us than anybody else ever. And, that has been a great example, I think, for the other people in our group. So we kind of started that culture of referrals, 10 years ago? And it's still going, even though Jeremy isn't with us, that people still refer us and things. So, if you can create that culture, that's really, really helpful.
yep.
Yeah. One other thing, oh, customer success stories. We actually just started doing that with carousels. And I'm going to try and do that, for our Wednesdays, doing a carousel of here are some statistics about a particular client. And, that's good for the client. It's good for us. And it's also excellent referral material because people can share those and things like that. And HubSpot, I think, does a really great job of coming back to that example of sharing their customer success stories and promoting their customers, which I think is good for them, good for the customer, good for other customers, that are similar that might.
Yeah, well, it occurs to me that they may do that, but I
Mhm.
think you do a better job because you mix up all your clients, or as many of them as are interested, into a single forum where they can talk to each other and they can get more business out of each other.
Yeah,
And that's been more successful than I ever expected it to be.
right. We actually just had a contract pilot um, work for one of our brokers. We had a guy who was working on an escrow situation work with another one of our uh, brokers, that is really good at finance. So, there's a lot of things in the industry where people have problems where we can connect them to each other and say, you know what, I know nothing about escrow accounts, but I know who does, because they're in our group. And some of that happens online, some of it is phone calls, some of it's on LinkedIn. But being part of a group is a really big benefit. And I think it naturally increases referrals for everybody if we do that.
Well, even if that person isn't a part of the group currently,
Mm-hmm.
you can say, he's not part of this group, but I know someone who I've worked with in the past
Yeah.
who did a really good job. And maybe that will bring them into the group, maybe not, but you're still using the network
Yeah.
of other people to accomplish whatever it is that you need to accomplish.
Exactly. I know we recently just had somebody who needed to import an airplane from an unnamed country that I'm not going to talk about. It's like, I don't know if this can even be done. And I'm like, well, I know who you need to talk to about whether or not it can be done. I have no idea whether or not it can be done, but I know who would know. So that those kinds of things happen all the time in this industry and probably in every industry as well. Yeah. And then if we are making those kinds of connections between other people, then naturally those connections come back to us. It's just kind of the law of reciprocity, right? Right. Cool. Any famous last thoughts, or do you want to give it a rating, a 1 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 or somewhere between 1 and 10? I don't want to influence the audience, so I'll go last.
Well, I don't know if I'd say put a number on it, but I'll put it's way up there.
Okay. Out of the
I mean,
books that we've read this year, where would you stack it up?
um, probably, probably with respect to all the books this year, probably 9 or so.
Wow.
Because one, it's easy to read and it's stuff that anybody can do. It's not easy,
Mhm.
but you can sit down and put a plan together to make it happen.
Mhm.
It's not impossible like some of the stuff
So some of the
sounds.
best books we've read in the past 12 months is what you're saying. Not that it's ninth out of the 4 months that we've had so far in this year.
Right.
Okay. Checking your grading scale. It's only
I've only read
April. It can't
4,
be
but it's
ninth.
number
I
9.
mean, long past dead last, right?
Oh, I would have to agree. It's got to be one of the better books that we've had either so far this year or even in the last year, because it is easy to read. It's very practical. He comes right out and says, "This ain't going to happen tomorrow." This is something you have to work up to and you have to build into your processes. But it's very doable for just about any kind of industry that's out there. So.
Yep.
Right. So I think I would say two things about that. One is that any book that John Jantsch writes is probably going to end up on our book club.
Ah,
Duct tape marketing, the marketing engine, the referral engine, anything with John Jantsch and engine in it somewhere. Is going to end up in our book club just because he's such a great writer and because he's so good at explaining things and he's got great systems thinking. But the other thing is that a lot of people skip over this part, especially if they're a new business, because they think, oh, well, I don't have enough customers for this to work for me yet. It's funny because the most, and I tell people this all the time, the most profitable campaigns that we run are resales, recaptures, referrals campaigns, because they're not cold. There are people who already know, like, and trust you. There are people who are warm, to your business. So you spend less acquiring those customers and you make more money on those customers. The problem is it is one of our least attended workshops every year. We do it every year right around April. Everybody comes to prospecting. Everybody comes to holding patterns. Everybody comes to anything having to do with AI, right? Those are the really popular workshops. And referrals, they're just going, that just happens. We don't need to do anything special for referrals. But, if more than 50% of your business comes from a single source, wouldn't you want to do what you can to increase that source? Makes me
well, your first statement is, wouldn't you, if blah? Well, they don't believe that, or they would.
Yeah. Well, and if you're a brand new business and you don't have any customers at all, then you should still read this book, because you need to set up your company from the beginning to get referrals. Set up your referral culture, set up your resources that people can pass from one person to the next. Start a culture of storytelling, start a culture of connecting people together, whether or not you have anybody who's in a position to give you a referral yet. Based on their own experience, they can go with, you haven't been under a rock. If you've been on this planet for more than 10 years, there are people that know you well enough to say you'd be really good at doing X, Y, or Z, right?
It occurs to me, and I didn't really understand it going through business school, but having watched you for 15 years since, that when you get ready to start a company, you should probably, you've got a product or service already in mind, but you need to spend an inordinate amount of time on marketing and sale before you ever push the start button.
Yeah.
And figure out exactly how you got to go about that, because if you don't, it'll take for frickin' ever if it ever does take off. And otherwise, you can have this all pre-planned and know what to do.
Yeah. You really want to start on day one with a pipeline and a referral network and everything else before you ever sell your first product. I think would be ideal. I wish I'd started that way. I didn't,
So easier said than done sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's a lot you can do. And the nice thing is he really lays out a plan really nicely in the book. So I think that's helpful. So lots of actionable stuff. I am changing my signature line on my emails right after this meeting. Thank you, Stella. And we've already changed several of the things that we do. And this is not the first time I've read this book. And every time we do it, I end up doing some things differently, because, we're in a different place. We read it differently. We have resources that are different, and everything else. So this one, I think, is almost worth putting on the read every year list or read every 3 years list. And there's a few books that are like that. I think that's amazing. Great. Well, Stella, did you want to mention your other book?
And not important, but I recently found this book. It was actually referred to me, since we're talking about referrals.
Yeah, and a book club about referrals. Let's refer other books, right?
Exactly. But it's a book called The Gap and the Gain. And it talks about the difference between basically where you are and where you want to be, and your expectations, and how your mindset plays a lot in what that difference is. But it's a pretty short read. It's kind of intense at different parts of it. But very good book.
Yeah. Who else has talked about that is Tim Bunnell and Michael Duke both recommended that book. So I think it's probably time to get it on our list.
It's come up a couple times. Let's have it.
Exactly. Yeah, you're the third person to mention it. So yeah, it needs to go on the list. So thank you for that. That sounds amazing. Next month we'll be talking about Seth Godin's The Purple Cow, which kind of goes along with this one. I think is a nice flow because The Purple Cow is about what's unique, right? About your company. And if there is a core talkable difference, is the way John Jantsch puts it, Seth Godin says the purple cow is the same thing. What is unique that really stands out in people's mind that they're going to talk about and, that they're going to notice and mention and talk about, because if you're a very boring company, it's really hard to make referrals, so.
Unless you have an essential product.
Right. If it's a purple cow, there's got to be a story behind it. And, so that's the foundation of storytelling, right?
Yeah.
Curiosity. Cool. All right. Well, thanks, you guys. I really appreciate you adding your brains to this conversation and, your contributions about the book. So we'll see you next time.
All right. Adios.